watching this stream. This is a Naval Action diplomacy parlay kicked off by Charge-On from the US. And what we're trying to do here is have a bit of a natter, bit of a parlay amongst some representatives, some of the diplos from the different nations, and see if we can get a bit of a unified message out to the devs as to how we'd like to see the game improved, and also, while we're at it, see if we can reduce some of the toxicity that's been bubbling up in forums and in game. So we've got a bit of an agenda, and I'm going to hand over to Charge-On to kick things off. My role beyond that will just be to step in if anybody gets a bit grumpy monkeys and issue a yellow card. So off you go, Charge-On.
Actually, Christendom, if you want to go ahead.
Okay. Well, thanks everyone for showing up. My main focus isn't really to discuss internation BS. You know, maybe if we have time and everyone's feeling cordial, but I think it's kind of up to us to make an attempt to try and save the game, if you will. I mean, it seems like the devs just don't have a decent roadmap out there available for us, and for example, my main thing is I think we need to get the servers merged. You know, short term, that'd be the best benefit. Long term, maybe not, if there's, you know, actually the game ever eventually launches. But I'd like to see what everyone's thoughts are on that, and then basically like come up with like a laundry list, if you will, of points that we can slap on the forum, say, hey, admin, read this. This is what we think we need. Fix it, please. If they don't look at it and the game fails, we can kind of say, hey, we tried, you know. So, just want to see what everyone's thoughts are and something like that. So, if anyone wants to speak up, or I don't know how we want to divide that down, but...
Well, if we go to, we've got a bit of a loose agenda, and we could, at the moment, we've got people from pretty much all the nations. I think we're missing someone from Spain right now, and I don't think there's a pirate with us. I think the first thing was just to talk about how we'd like to see the basic RVR improved, just in general, without getting into night flipping in specific. That's further down on the agenda. So maybe we'll let the French are at the head of the table. Maybe you can start with what you'd like to see in the RVR realm.
The main problem we got as a French is a problem in regard of the number of people that are part of the RVR. There is a nation that claims to be and to have low people. There is population that are more large, but that they say that they have less people involved in RVR. And what we got is a massive problem to reach the offensive pro battle. The screen that is made, is not the kind of screen that make people enjoy it, because it's mostly about screening the enemy fleet, trying to make it not able to reach the enemy port, and it decreasing the fun for the one trying to join the port battle. With this kind of screen, we hardly think that the more population you got, the more advantage you are. Whatever are your skills in game, as mostly surprise come, catch your port battleships, trying to not make him able to leave the instance of the battle, to let people make point into the port battle, or decreasing the time that there is a port battle. So the screen is for us a big problem, as it's unorganized and not too mostly linked to the number of players that you got on your nation. It's the first thing to say about the AVR and the problem we got as a defender. About the defender, it's really easy. You just have to click, and then you are able to teleport into the port. It's something that is a bit strange. So screening is just a one-side screen. You can screen to defend your port. You're trying to reach the enemy and delay it from joining the port, but you can't screen when you are attacking, or you are just trying to screen against the screeners. and it's not really interesting too, because you have to split your fleet as you are not able to accept or deny to be putting into the battle. If anyone around you is put into the battle, your ship will be put into the battle too. So it means you have to send your screen 3 per 3 or 5 per 5, making distance between the ships to be sure that they will not be all taken into the battle. That means that you are sending few ships to the side, trying to get as many ships they can into the lobby, and then you send 3 more ships to the side, trying to make them the rest of the screen, and you use it as many times you need to decrease the number of screeners that you got in front of you. So for us, the screening is a problem. It's not fun, and it's decreasing the possibility on AVR for the offender, and there is not there is no reverse for the defender. The defender, they just have to click in and teleport. It's what happened on Bermuda. We really think that it was unfair to see the Danish traveling almost half of the map, being there on the right time, and then not able to join the battle because some defender just click in and joined it. So they used the dirty tactic that was the login and logout tactic that is dirty. And maybe the devs should have think about making something to make it a success. About the night flip, we'll discuss it further, so I let you speak now. Thank you.
Do you have any ideas?
Thank you.
I mean, you say that you don't like the screening. Do you have any ideas to be able to maintain a screening force but not ruin the fun or not to give such a great advantage to higher population nations?
The problem is not that the screen is not interesting. Sometimes you got really good battle on screen. The problem is that more the time passes and more the screen is organized just to take these enemy screeners. So basically you got, for example, when I want to attack Castries, I got my pro battle fleet hidden in Fort Royal. I send 5 ships. These 5 ships will take as many screens of the enemy they can. So it will make a 5 French versus 15 British, for example. Then I send 5 more ships. They will screen and take again 15 ships. And then I send a third group of 5 ships that will take again 15 ships. So basically 15 French are fighting 45 British. And then I send my pro battle fleet, begging the god that there is no more English that will tag my pro battle fleet. It's not interesting. I just sent 15 ships to the side. The enemy that are into the battle against the 5 ships, they are not happy because they want to have a real fight and not just destroy 5 ships that come to sacrifice. So it makes many people unhappy. So I don't think it's something interesting, and a solution has to be found to make this screening or more efficient or more interesting, but not this dirty fight that we got. And of course we could send the screening in one fleet, but it's less effective because it means that other ships can still tag your pro battle fleet. The pro battle fleet should have a special ability to not be attackable by something too small, from my point of view. I made a suggestion on the devs, on the suggestion forum, to make a signal for pro battle leaders that able him to make a group of 55 people. Like buying a flag, allowing you to make a larger group, and to give a special BR to this group to make it not able to be attacked by small ship. Because to be honest, if the pro battle fleet is attacking by a 25 ship outside, both can have fun. The pro battle fleet, okay, they will not take the port, but at least it will get a good battle. The problem is that most of the time the pro battle fleet is taken by smaller ship that just want to not allow the pro battle to reach the port, not fight, just delay and flee, and it's not interesting.
So, Kerip, if we were to summarise that, if we could have a different set of rules of engagement around a port battle, so that you'd need you can't tag with 5 little frigates and pull in 25 ships, that would be an improvement.
I think BR has to be changed to make the port battle fleet not attackable by 2 smaller ships. It's destroying the fun of the port battle ship, and it's making the screen not useless. It's really useful, but it's red, it's dirty, it's not improving the fun of anyone.
Okay,
So
can I
And
what
say-
is
as a small nation facing a bigger nation or a bigger coalition, it's really a problem for us. We're able to join the port. We reached the last port battle we tried to make with good screener, but I don't think it's really fun for your screener or our screener to do so. One other solution would be the defender to be forced to sail to the port as are the attackers, meaning that defender won't be able to teleport directly into the port, for example, and would have to sail from a free zone to their port. Then the attacking could screen the defensive fleet while the screener of the defending port could try to attack the the offending fleet. It could be more equal, more even, because both can use screen. But in this one side pro battle we got, I think the screen is too much advantaging the defender.
Okay. In our opinion, obviously, screening is something that's you're not supposed to have the benefit of the screen all the time. The attacker, of course, uses the screen to get himself injected to the port of target. Defensive screens can happen. For example, I've seen defensive screens happen. They do happen as well. You have to get very lucky, but they do happen. It seems to me that the rules of engagement that are in place seem to be quite well. It sounds to me like you are unhappy with smaller groups of ships being effective. Of course, maybe this is a balance issue, or maybe you're asking for something else. But
I think.
my,
Sorry, Thani.
go ahead.
I think what our French friend is saying here is the actual rules of engagement. So, for example,
Well, that's what I'm feeling. Right.
Last night when we got tagged in outside Puerto Plata, I mean, it was like
channel timed out.
six Danish ships managed to tag in 25, and there was still some left inside the tagging area that couldn't get into that battle last night. And there was no way really that those amount of small ships should be able to tag in, 25 plus screening ships.
There's been a number of suggestions on the forum to raise the BR tagging ratio above
That's
the
right.
current. I think it's 1-5.
So I guess my point is, are you looking? I just want to be clear. Are you looking for a rebalance of actual BRs, or are you looking for a completely different rules of engagement? Because I can support balance, but in my opinion, the rules of engagement are pretty good right now. If you organize well, you succeed most often. If you do not organize well, sometimes you don't. But this is the way things go. You're not meant to be able to get into the port every single time, in my opinion. But
no, it's something we don't have discussed with the French, so I just giving my personal opinion.
Okay.
No,
The
that's
BR has to be
cheers.
has to be fixed to not allow small ships to attack bigger fleets, to make more big battle in. It's more interesting to have bigger battle. It's more interesting for everyone to get maybe not even, but at least more even battle in terms of number. So it's not the ROE that has to change, but the BR limit. Another thing would be that when someone is tagged, you may have the choice to be in or not in. I mean that the group of the players can be putting in, but sometimes you really think what is happening, especially with all the alliance we all have. For example, when we have attacked Casri last time, a Danish player were really in front of the fleet, and he has been tagged. We were really making careful to not to stick together, to not be put out. But the Danish has been attacked far away, and then it put us into the battle. He was not in our group, he was not in our nation, and he was not on our team speak, so maybe he didn't know that we were trying to be careful, and then we were putting into the battle. I think it's need an invitation to join him or not. Maybe not if the guy are in your group, because you're supposed to be speaking or organizing with the guy in your group. But if the people are not in your group, you may have to be able to accept or deny the possibility to enter the battle. It's something that was used on pubs, and I think it was useful. But
I
it's my
agree with the
personal
BR
opinion. One more
thing.
time, not the French one. We didn't have spoken about that yesterday.
I agree with the BR thing. I think it does need to be raised higher. But the in or out thing could lead to so many problems that it would just open a massive hornet's nest, and it would end up negating the screening fleet completely. If you could say, no, I don't want to go into this battle, and you're supposed to be in the port battle fleet, you don't end up being screened out, and you just get into the port battle anyway, and then what's the point of having a screening fleet?
If the option, I'm sorry, but if the option was only for the for the ships that are attacking, since we cannot control every player and every faction, and not all the clan players, some make mistakes, and we've seen this often too, that a friendly actually goes in and tags and drags his own port battle fleet. Maybe if it's a friendly who's tagging, you should be allowed to not follow him into battle. Of course, if the enemy tags you, that's a valid tactic.
So
That's reasonable.
I get that.
Disengage or something. Yeah,
So
like that.
can I suggest something there? So maybe you'd have a designated screening captain who'd be able to approve a tag at any one time. If there's, I don't know how the mechanic would work, but we've all been faced by improper tags, and we've all paid the price for it. We paid the price for it the other day, in fact.
So just a quick protocol thing. When you're chipping, can you just say your name and nation? There's folks watching. There's also
Apologies.
a suggestion that this could be the next Red Wedding, so look around if anyone starts playing some music.
Well, cheers, guys.
Sorry, carry on. Sorry for the interruption.
That statement was made by Suratani, but we've all been stung by that kind of mechanic, and so we understand that frustration as well. We very much do. And if there was a smart way, of course, to ensure that proper tagging was achieved, and proper tagging can be, is subjective.
User was moved to your channel.
But the point is that if you had a commander position, for example, the head of a group, we don't know who the head of the group is in the game. We've got 12 guys with no leader. These are things that, of course, we would think we would see late in the game here, but yet we don't. And maybe there should be a screening fleet per se, and a head of a screening fleet. If I can make a suggestion.
Something important is that we have to consider that the faction are not in the same number. We don't have the same number in all the faction, and we never will have. We have to consider that we need to find a solution to allow the smaller population to be able to still make port battle. I don't know if it has to be fixed by changing the ROE in regard of port battle, or if it has to be changed by something that make people join the smaller nation trying to balance the number. But in the case of a population or an alliance, an alliance is really few in terms of number, then it need to be balanced.
Well, I think balance issues are your point here, and I think we can support balance issues when it comes to BR, and maybe on a few other topics. Obviously, we want to see the game more balanced to include everybody, and I think that's why, out of our particular alliance, we employ screening the best we can to bring as many players into the fun, if you will, without leaving them aside.
And this is Chai John with the United States Nation. That's a good point, I think. We need to keep the BR considerations there, but there's only 25 players per side allowable to enter a port battle. Yet, there are other players outside of that want to be involved, want to participate, want to have the PvP opportunity, and that's where the screening comes in, and that's what opens up, a wider participation for players.
So far, it's not a problem because we are able to join the port battle, like you are able to join the port battle. But what may happen if in some day there is more alliance, so there is really a big unbalance in terms of population. does it mean that the less population will be fucked anyway, or are we trying to find solution to make the smallest population able to make AVR? Because if
User
it's
was
just both
moved to your
screen, you
channel.
can defend with 25, but you have to be really more to attack, because you need the people allowing you to put your fleet in port battle. Except on Pirate of the Burning Sea, where the fleet was teleported into the lobby of the attacking room. In Naval Action, you need people to carry your port battle fleet on the port. And what may happen if there's a large imbalance in the field? There is almost that. It's what we feel as French, that the number is really unbalanced, and that as soon as many times we reach the port battle, it's already a victory for us, because it's like an impossible mission, but we success it. But what may happen when we will fail and fail and fail to join the port battle because our enemy are too numerous? Does it mean that we have to stop the AVR? I'm not sure it's a good idea for the games and for the futures. The games can't be too much linked to the number of people, or it has to balance the number of people, not allowing people to join the bigger nation, or I don't know. But for my personal point of view, it's going to be a problem later or sooner.
Can I interrupt real quick? This is Thomas Payne. There are two fellas up in the waiting room. One guy up in the waiting room. Does anybody know him?
Yeah,
Urs
Urs
Barbu
Barbu
is
is a French player.
captain.
Is he a representative, or is he just
Not
here because
really.
he doesn't know better? Okay, we'll leave him up there then.
He's an old port battle captain. That's all I know him from, though.
I just want to make sure he's not a representative. If he's a representative, I'll pull him down. If he's not, he stays up there.
So we'll maybe move on in a moment, just so that we keep this below 8 hours, and I can sleep before we go and attack you all when you're asleep later on today. The summary of the discussion is that the ROE when you're close to a port battle needs a bit of thought, and there should be some smarts so that we're not getting pulled in with one ship or two ships or silly bloody tags. And then the bigger question, and a far more challenging one, is how do you give a meaningful amount of gameplay to small nations so that they can also attack, etc. Would that be a decent summary of the two pieces? Now, before we move on, is there anyone else who wants to add to those topics?
I would like to, if you don't mind.
Yeah, of course.
Thomas Payne. I want to say, as part of the alliance that has the numerical advantage at the moment, that I'm sympathetic to what the French are saying right now. And I think we need to come up not just with a summary of our grievances or our hopes for the game, but I think we need to come up with at least a summary of ideas. And it sounds like the two ideas that have been put on the table that it would be the simplest to implement would be a higher BR ratio, and you can't be pulled by friendlies. Am I missing anything there?
This is Ram from the US. I just wanted to add to this first piece that Christendom mentioned about the server merge would give us population. And I think population is, the biggest thing that we're missing here. Short of that, the alternatives are, we go back to the AI reinforcement fleets that when you're way outnumbered, you can call in reinforcements to backfill your numbers. But us trying to do any individual population control, sending people to the French, sending people to the Danes or what have you, it's not going to work, right? It's not going to be a sustainable thing because populations will wax and wane. But having one consolidated server that everybody plays on will help. And, alternatively, maybe they can do reinforcement fleets. I don't know if that's going to help if you're an attacker, if that'll only really be useful if you're a defender. I don't know, but having multiple servers where people can go to versus just having one consolidated server, it'll help because, we'll get more daytime, nighttime players, whether you're in the, North Americas or if you're in the EU.
Well, Sir Tony, Dutch Nation, I'd like to second that in the sense that the issue we have here is we have a game constructed to operate properly with a certain base number of players. Unfortunately, that player base will go up and down. I think it's important that we don't throw out good rules and good mechanics just because we have a player base that isn't as enthused to be playing that day. I think that we can really do a disservice to the development of this game by improperly pulling down good ideas in favor of supporting a smaller player base. I think that maybe if creative something creative to solve something like that would have to be truly creative. But I would just be concerned that we be very careful about what we ask them to remove, because we happen to have a lower player base for 2 weeks of the month, and and maybe at the end of the month it explodes. So that's just my 2 cents on that topic.
Chris, I'm here real quick. Well, I mean, the server population has been going down consistently every patch, right? And I think everyone can agree on that. The patch hits, there's an influx, and then the staying power of each patch is getting less and less, and we have our current population, which has been, as Jeheil said on his videos, it's been slightly uptick, but not really enough substantially, right? So, to solve the screening problem, nations need more people, right? Because RVR really shouldn't be decided by 25 people on 25 people.
More people.
Yeah, you include more people show up, it puts fans in the seats. And, the more people you can have fighting out there for the battle, the more inclusive it is. So, the cure-all for the time being is more people. And that's what I was getting at with the server merge.
And I think incentivize people to play for the smaller nations. So when you're signing up for a nation, perhaps if you're signing up for the biggest nation, you earn less gold and XP, and if you're signing up for the smallest nation, you earn more, and there's a limit on how many times you can flip or something.
Or I mean, it's still testing, right? So I mean, this isn't a full launch server, that for testing purposes, the devs say, we're merging the servers, we're shutting down people joining the Brit Nation. You can join these ones. They don't like it. Whatever. It's alpha testing.
This is Melle from Denmark, Norway. May I add to that? Personally, I think it would be a mistake to force, to stop people from joining the nation they want to join. Because if, let's say, they are British, it would be a real bummer not to be able to be on the British nation.
I agree.
True. But remember, like I said, this is testing.
Well,
this isn't a live game.
No, but I think it was Clutamol who said you incentivize it rather than block it.
Intensive.
Yeah.
You give people more XP, you give people more gold, 20% gold, 20% XP for the less population, 10% gold, 10% XP for the second less population, and a minus for the bigger population. And then when people will join, I don't know if you try on testbed, but it's written, France, be careful, it's really rude because the French has to defend Wisania and Haiti. And I think that if I'm a baby pirate, I'm looking on the game, I think, don't join France, it's too hard. Let's join the easy one, and I may switch after. But you begin to play and you discover that you can't switch, so you stay on the easy one. I think that on start, and we speak with the French yesterday, we really want intense thing, making people joining the smaller nation, like bonuses and more, and minus for the bigger nation. They have spoken first about the crew, that crew will be not infinite into the ports, meaning that the bigger population will have an harder time to find crew for the ships, but it seems they didn't do that.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, I don't think it's a good idea neither, but they didn't do that, and maybe adding a bonus for the smaller population and destroying the chat box saying that Danish, French, and Swedish are helpful and that joining British is nice, would make more people joining the smaller nation.
There are certainly there are games that do this already. Dark Age of Camelot, which is an old MMO,
you
still
took
does
the
this
words
currently.
right out of my mouth.
That's correct. A certain, this is the original RVR game. All RVR games came after this one. They defined the term, but smaller nations do get bonuses.
You would get double XP, game. Double gold,
that's
all
right.
sorts of stuff.
And I think that this is a mechanic that should be looked at, especially if admin is looking at release soon. So I support that very much.
Alrighty.
Yeah, I always support the idea of the bonuses for the smaller nations, just without the small idea of the negatives. Because punishing big nations for being big is not good. Just give the bonuses for the smaller nations, that will be enough.
Yeah, we speak about the number of players, not the number of ports, I think.
Yes, maybe I have an idea to lead us to another question. Maybe we come to a better solution. We have maybe to ask ourselves, what is the reason that the entire player base shrinked that rapidly? There was a certain particular time where there was a crush of the player base. I can very good remember when you were logging in, there were players more than thousands every day, and maybe that if we try to find a answer for this question, that maybe leads us to the solution.
I find two reasons. First is the introduction of finals that put too much intensive work to sailing, trading, crafting. And second is the mentioning a ship and a material swipe. That's what put a lot of people back from the game, away from the game. They said that they are not coming back until wipe happens.
I think the very first mass exodus of players was when it was so simple and easy to turn pirate. So when the Spanish were getting beat up on, all their players that didn't want to stick around for it ran to join pirates. When the US got beat on, they ran and joined pirates. When, various nations got beat up, and then people got so irritated. Look at the Aussie clan in the Brit Nation. They wanted everybody at one point, everybody on the server to turn pirate, to wake the devs up to how easy it was to just turn pirate and shed people from the nations.
Yep.
And I think that was the very, very, very first thing that shed players. And when they kind of fixed that, made it, well, I don't know if they really fixed it or just people stopped doing it.
It's more difficult now.
Nobody ever came back. Yeah.
This is Rem. Let me say this. So I think when you think about the type of player that's going to pick up a game like this, or the people that started in the beginning, a lot of it has to do with access, right? So in the early days, it was small battles all day, every day. You could join a small battle, there'd be 20 people in a small battle for hours and hours on end. Who was going to sail from Charleston to Cumana or Caracas? Nobody. Who was going to go to La Bahia? Who's going to go to these far-flung places of the world? So when there's 100 people on at night and it's our prime time and there's no one playing, access to those people is almost impossible. The size of the map, while it's a pretty map and there are a ton of ports, most of them sit completely empty all day long, every day, and have no use whatsoever. So the play field is probably way too big for the amount of people that we have. I mean, access to content is also difficult. It's largely a sandbox game, right? You have now the PvP events, you have the epic events, which I don't think very many, if anybody, does, and you have RVR, right? Short of that, you're doing econ or you're crafting. So, having more content mechanics, which it looks like in the roadmap they're doing some things like these Valor tokens or something of that sort in order to get PvP rewards or to pull the new flags when they go to the new Lord Protector system. But access and content, I think, are the most important things. I think with those things in place, you'll get more people playing. The people that are still around now are the hardcore people. I've taken a break and I've come back. I know a lot of people that have taken a break and come back. Most of those people are committed to the game. I don't think we should have the expectation that new people should be this overly committed, like, oh, well, you're a new player, you're now in the Grand Bahamas, go sail for 2.5 hours and come and meet up with us. That's tough for someone to take. Yeah. So access is important.
They're also not marketing it actively at the moment. So, I mean, stick a $1 humble bundle with 30 days free play or something. I think they're waiting for the launch, eh? So,
yeah.
I think just because we do have a bit of an agenda and we're on item 1 of 36, we could move along to perhaps something a little bit more trepidatious to gibber about. And that is the lovely topic of night flipping. So what are we going to do or not do, or what do we think we should do as a group of gamers, not as French or Brits or US, but what should we do as a group of gamers when it comes to a 24-hour global game and the pain in the ass of realizing you're getting attacked at 4 o'clock in the morning?
Do you mind me saying something to start this off? Because it's kind of important to me.
Yep. Go for it, man.
Thomas Payne again. This is from a U.S. player perspective. It's frustrating because we every day have to deal with people that just simply don't believe that U.S. players, Aussie players, Chinese players, whatever, belong on this server. And what that means is when we come to discuss about these topics, we're not discussing it as equals. We're discussing it as if we're not even supposed to be here. So it's like there's no respect towards our player base. So all the discussions revolve around how to hurt us and help everybody else. And at this point, it's hard for me to be a part of a conversation that goes back and forth with ideas if the premise is we don't belong. And I guess for me it's even more personal because me, like many other people in this game, have been around for a very long time. This server was just the server at one point and eventually was called the EU server. It's where I've made all my friends. It's where I made my enemies. It's provided the most enjoyment for me, and it's home. And that's why I'm here. And I've been here for a long time. It doesn't mean I own the server. For sure, it doesn't. But I don't want to leave it. I like all you guys, in fact. I like the drama between our nations. I look over and, sorry if the PvP2 guys are listening, but I look at that server and it looks boring as crap to me. I don't want to go back over to that server. I want to be here. But I want to be here and work with the problems that we're having with night flips and come up with ideas for everybody, but on an equal basis with equal respect to all our player bases.
May I take the word, Mel from Denmark, Norway?
Yeah, please.
Being on the other side of the night flips, of course, can be frustrating as well for us. But the first thing I want to add is I think the more the merrier. The server needs more people. I think the mood needs to be less toxic. I applaud anyone who wants to play this game with me. US, Canadian, Australian, wherever they're from. I think we need more players, and I think the game will work better if there are more players around the clock. And I also think that like the attitude that people are not welcome because they're from a certain area is more hurtful to the game than anything. And I don't think anyone can blame any faction for trying to seek out gameplay on their own time zone. And I know for a fact that that's the opinion of many of our nation as well. That being said, it does become frustrating when it seems like we are unable to defend our ports because we have to get up and we can't stay awake till 3-4 o'clock in the morning on a Tuesday.
Sorry, Tony Dutch Nation. Jags and I, for example, are Americans that play for the Dutch nation. We play with many Dutch people. Germans, really just about any country in Europe. So we though we're small, we have a representative group from every time zone. And just even running a clan that way can be very difficult. I'm sure many people here would agree. We do obviously operate a 24-hour game, like many other games that actually have PvP or RVR. There are many that operate in 24-hour environments. I think it's up to us. We can make suggestions, of course, to dev to curtail certain, to open windows for these types of things. But I think this is also, since we are in a sandbox environment, and the spirit of that is up to the players to develop content. And I'm hoping that amongst all of us later in this conversation, maybe we can develop a process that does work, at least work for all of us here. These are my hopes.
Have we got a bit of input from maybe Sweden on this? Oh, sorry, Swede spoke. Mal spoke at the start, didn't he? We've heard France. I think the US position, and as hello, as an oceanic player, it's wanting to be involved. So I guess we're caught a little bit in the tyranny again of if the game had lots of players, this might not be a problem. The game doesn't have lots of players at the moment. Now, we all hope in 6 months they do a big launch and that's a thing of the past. So, as a player group right now, are we just going to have to, get Teddy tough and deal with the night flips, or is there anything else we can do?
About the French, we have had a discussion today ago about the night flip. You know that I start playing the games before it comes to OpenSea and Steam, so I discovered OpenSea with pleasure. I discovered Conquest with pleasure. We have been allied with the Brit, and then it changed, and then many things happened. But what happened and what was crucial for the French was the Panama campaign, that we were successful, and that stopped when the British started to use the night flip. I'm not blaming the British, but the night flip. It began to change anything for us because as soon as we were able to take port, or more, as soon as we were losing one port, we were unable to take it back because we have had to wake up in the middle of the night. So the game was designed to make it hard for the bigger empire to keep its frontier, because every other nation would ally against him, trying to get more territory, and then when the empire would be defeated, the enemy will have large territory, and then it may be hard for them to keep the territory, and again and again and again. But what happened was the captain of the enemy were closing the port and not allowing us to attack them again. It was really frustrating, especially because we were trying to playing fair. The French never used this dirty timer. We never set up any one of our ports on the night, forcing our enemy to wake up, because we don't think it's a good way to play. And it began to make a big frustration for the French. We lost so many VR players. Someone was asking what happened for the player, but it was one of the key of the departure of many French, because they were playing until midnight. They were enjoying the game, making all they can to enjoy and make for some of you that they fight, enjoying the game too, because you were having fun and fight. And then when they wake up, exactly like 3 days ago, they see that everything that they have made was useless. They have played defending their port all they can, and the enemy were defeated and none in sea. But few hours after, then a night gank formed, maybe because they were not asleep, maybe because they were not playing on the same time zone, but then they flipped the port. It's what happened 3 days ago. About the Lord Governor that we got with the British, the problem was, as soon as the port were taken, they were putting in the middle of the night, and then the French have had to wake up to take back the port with clock. I remember to have set up clock. I have a wife, I have children, I have a work, and I have a love for the game too, and I was set up in clock to wake up for this fucking game.
Yes,
and then I think, it's going too far away. It's a game. I don't have to make a clock like going to work. And then we say, okay, we stop to fight for the night flip. We stop to defend. And we have been mocked by the British in Tour de France, blah, blah, blah. We were just suffering dirty acts for players. Okay. So the night flip for us is something that is not that we can't forgive. And now, many months after, maybe 1 year after, we are again facing the same problem, saying that again the solution will be to have more players. But if we have more players, the problem will still be the same. I mean that you, US player, you have the key of any AVR action. Into the night, there will be so many French, Swedish, British, Dutch, and more players that the AVR is almost stable. Sometimes our blocks success to make one of your ports in a port battle, and then we have a port battle. Sometimes it's your turn, but it's never too strong or too weird. But US, when you make a port battle, sadly, you make it when most of our population is sleeping. If we would have more players, you will still be the key of the RVR because you will be the one fighting when no one would be present, or at least when less would be present. Maybe US may join our coalition or join the other coalition, but in the end, the one that will decide the RVR will be the one that we don't see, the one that play when we are sleeping. And I would not be happy to wake up and see a US player playing French and okay, I'm so sorry, but yesterday we have lost a triple battle. But if you want, you can wake up and help us, because finally the problem will be exactly the same with more people. If the rules are not changing, I will not be the one deciding of what happened. I will not have my face in the end. I will not be able to make the game. I don't know how to say it in English. I don't know if you see my point, but as a captain, I feel that a part of the French. I can decide what happened. I can help with all my strength and my skills the French nation. But if it's happening on the night, I'm useless.
I don't
Yes,
want to be
yes.
contentious.
Every player feels that they
Sir,
can
Sonny,
be part of the game,
I-
but as soon as you introduce something like the night flip, they feel that it's not
It's
it's
night
more
somewhere
concerning
for
them.
somebody.
Some say
Kira,
we
Kira,
can't fight. Stop not fight because the games I'm not concerned.
another
And
moment
it's
for
the
somebody
main
else,
problem.
please.
We
Kira.
feel useless. We feel not concerned about what is
Kira.
happening.
Flag protector system. Many nights I've stayed up all night. Many nights I've got up at 3 in the morning. And I'm not talking about maybe all French ports. I'm talking about just enemy ports here. We're talking about all ports. You can't really single out the Americans when under the flag protector systems, when we had it in play, the flag times were set obtusely for the enemy, of course. So this is not a one-sided complaint, Kira. Not at all.
I'm not
It's
complaining for my
always
point.
going
I'm
to
just
be
saying you
night
that
for
night
somebody
flip,
somewhere.
night
Well,
flip is a
So
cancer,
if
and we have to find a solution to make it stop.
so
And
here's
there's
here's a problem. If you don't mind
the
me just
French
butting
don't
in here.
think the solution is to improve the number of players because
I think we need to put a cap
the
on
problem
responses. We're
will
going
be
on
the
4
same.
minutes right now here, Kira.
But here if I don't want to be contentious, but Kira, with all due respect, this is what I hear. What I hear you saying is that if you in EDR can't be
No,
the
it's a
ones to
French
defend.
meeting that we have had, Thomas. We have had
Oh,
a
okay,
French meeting
I
3 days
mean,
ago. It's a French position,
all right,
not
fair
the
enough, fair enough.
EDR or mine position.
Okay, then the current French leadership right now, if they can't be the ones to be a part of the battle, then it's a problem. So if we have, let's say you guys have 500 people in the French nation, half of them play at night, half of them play during the day. You're saying that those people at night, that's a problem for them to play at night, which is kind of an attitude saying that um, I'm trying to think of the right way to say this. It's saying that the French revolves around you, and if extra players come in and they end up doing stuff at night that may hurt the French or hurt you or maybe even succeed, the fact that you're not telling them how, what to do, you're not
No,
controlling,
it's
you're
not.
not
No, no,
participating,
no.
that it's a bad
I
thing.
miss vocabulary or understand on the English to make you understand. It's
Okay.
not me as a leadership or it's me as player. I want to play and make the game different. I don't want to not be able to be part of the game. I can't. It's not me as leadership. It's not. It's really not that I will. The problem
morning,
is not that
everybody.
people will play
Good
the
morning.
night. The problem is that the people playing the night, they will not have the possibility to mark the game because something will happen the day when they will sleep. For the people playing afternoon, they will not be able to mark the game because things will happen while they are sleeping. So it makes them a bit useless. I mean, they feel useless because whatever they are good on when they are playing, as soon as they sleep, many things could happen, and then they feel less concerned. They say, why should I go to RVR tonight when when I will sleep? Thing will change and the port will be taken on the night. If I defend it now, against the British that try to take my port on prime time. If I defend now, I know that as soon as I will wake up tomorrow, it will be flipped by Night Flipper. So it's maybe better to not defend, to have a prime time battle than defending and seeing the port attacking in the night. So it's a bit weird. You are playing, but you know that you are useless, and people feel useless. And when you feel useless in an RVR game, you no more playing. You begin to say, I will not defend the port because it will be a night flip if I defend it. And then you say, I will not come to the night flip because if I come to the night flip, I will have to wake up. And the French are really clear about that. We are not joining anymore any night flip. So you
I mean, I
free.
understand that. I'm
Our
just
ports are
saying
open.
that.
Our ports are open. As soon as you flip a port after midnight, we won't join it.
I understand your feelings, but if we had more population, I mean, this is how I would do it in the U.S. If it was up to me. If we had a morning group that was in all your time zones, we would see it as, hey, we have our morning group, and then we have our night fleet, our morning fleet and our night fleet, and we would then talk to that morning fleet, and we would come up with a strategy to wage our wars. And the morning fleet would be directed in one way and the night fleet would be directed in another way, and we'd have a 24-hour battle and we'd work together. Now the morning fleet may be not as good as the night fleet, and therefore we'd build our strategies in the directions they go. Maybe they wouldn't go for the strong haul enemy ports, and we would because we're more experienced.
Thomas,
but we'd work
Thomas,
with
can I
that.
stop you for 1 second? So while I appreciate that we're theory crafting if we had 1,000 more people, what do we do today? So in our prime time, just 1 minute, I just want to get this out here. In our prime time, it is 3 a.m. for you. In your prime time, we're all at work, right? It's 10 a.m. So what do we do? Do we only play the game on the weekends when everybody can participate? Is that the answer? So Monday through Friday, no one plays the game?
It's stupid. The thing that you are able to flip the port when I'm asleep and that I'm able to flip the port while you work is stupid because you feel useless because you are not able to defend. I feel useless because I need to sleep, and you are facing empty port battle. I mean, when you come on night, there is 25 people and there is no defender.
These are the same. The night flip and the American workday flip are the same. I am Dutch, but I'm an American player, right? So this doesn't just have to do with the United States faction. This has to do with the British nation as well. It affects
this is for everybody. You either get flipped at 10 and 2, or you're getting flipped at 3 in the morning. So what do we, the 150 people that play at our hours, or the 450 people that play at your time, what do we do about it?
If you feel useless, that's not our problem. If you want to work to find times where we can all participate, then that's a conversation we can support. If we're not going to support equality on these two topics, then I have nothing more to say.
Well, hold on. I think let me just jump in and intercept here. So, if the devs intend this to be a global server, then I think that's how we have to aspect. So let's make the assumption it's a global server, because if the devs intend splitting this into regions, this issue disappears. So let's work on the basis it's a global server. And then there's really only one of two different ways you can go. You can put lockouts onto when port battles happen, and that can either be at the behest of the defender, the current owner, or they could lock out certain time zones because they think that's where their main population is. The other thing, and this was suggested in the forums, and I think it's something worth discussing, is that a port battle happens in 5 stages. So you could say there are actually 5 battles to take a port, and you accumulate the points, and you could even proportionally load it against the number of players or some sort of thing. So I thought, there are dev things that can change, and that's something I'd like us to try and think about. What would we suggest to our darling devs or lobby for as players? Then we have to say to ourselves, and now it's like it is today, and with 600 of us on one server, and the Americans wake up when the Danes are asleep. Everybody's fucking asleep when I'm awake. So when we're playing right now in test, are we going to have any agreements, or is it just a case of rubber brick on it and put up with it, and it's only pixel ports in a beta? And the second thing I'd like us to have a bit of chat about is if we could lobby for something with the devs, assuming it's a global server, what are some positive ideas we could have? So does anyone want to pick up on either of those two things?
I would like to add to that. I think your second suggestion is the best one regarding the ports, maybe in stages or so, something like that. I think lockouts limits gameplay, and I think putting a limit on gameplay is bad for the game. And I also want to add that it might feel like when we get up and we see that there's a night flip, it might feel like the Americans and the British and the people on another time zone are breaking our game or they're trolling us or whatever. But I think it's very important that we always try to remember that we are all a bunch of guys that like wooden warships. And like to me, it's weird that we can be that nerdy about a game like this, and then the mood can deteriorate so badly, because I think we're all interested in having a better game, having more gameplay, and in general, what I try to tell people is that on all factions, most of the time what I meet is respect, and I meet nice guys, even my enemies. You need adversaries in a game, and I think we have to remember that when we're talking about this, because I don't think anyone is trying to ruin the game, at least not consciously, because if you ruin the game for your adversary, you ruin it for yourself, and I think most of us are aware of that.
Bravo.
British, Dutch, American, Danish, yeah, it doesn't matter.
Well, there's nothing worse than your enemy speaking complete and utter sense, is there? Well said, sir.
And nor from the Danish nation, this doesn't really doing the night flips. If you do a RVR, if you do a port battle, you do that to get content in the game. How is it to get content in the game if you attack a port that you know is either gonna be probably empty or a few pubs are gonna show up? Are you doing it for the green dots or the red dots on the map and the tally score for Jeheil's YouTube video, or are you doing it just to show yourself that you can beat a nation? Or are you actually
in all honesty,
wanting
it's
a
both.
port battle?
It's across
in
the
all
board,
honesty,
though.
it's
It's
both,
across the board.
because
Not 3 weeks ago, we had 3 port battles in the middle of the workday. I specifically, because I was so pissed that we have no respect across the board, I canceled my meetings in the middle of the day, and I showed up for all 3 port battles in the middle of the damn workday. And that's the only alternative I have. 3 of them. The whole opposing alliance coordinated 3 attacks against us.
It goes 2 ways.
It is a two-way
Yes,
street.
this was not a regular workday Monday to Friday battle. This was in the weekend, which meant you had the opportunity to join. You only had to wake up at the same time as when you go to work. It was not in a workday, and we weren't supposed to bring up old stuff, and I didn't. You did now, and this was something that was agreed on the forum. And I'm just asking you, why do you attack? Is it for the green dots, or do you want a fair and good fight? In that case, why the hell are you attacking in weekdays instead of weekends where you actually can meet our fleet?
I just told Matt the other day that I would not be playing the game if we didn't have RVR, because in our prime time, there's 120 people online. So back in the old days, I could hunt pirates up and down La Tortue for Mortimer Town, 1,700 people online, just a sea of targets to fight, and those days are gone. So now when I get on, there's 100 people playing. So if we're not organizing port battles, building ships, coordinating, redeploying outposts, getting our men organized, we don't have anything to do. So I would not play the game. So that's our content. That's the only content we have.
Yeah, but so your kind of content is the RVR, which means you're attacking either an empty port or a port that's defended with 5 to 10 peoples, and you're sitting 40 minutes in a circle waiting for loot.
Unfair characterization.
Well, I appreciate.
Well, I mean,
I
look
appreciate
at today,
North
North Viking. Look at the port battles on schedule for today.
This remark is made directly towards us. Let me just comment here. So, what I think is ironic is that if we're not talking about this old stuff, which it seems like you're taking us there, and you're kind of skirting the issue, none of the ports have been undefended. None of the ports have been undefended. If you want to have a dialogue and you want to come up with a plan in order to fix this, we can do this. You and I can sit here and piss and moan and go back and forth over this stuff, or we can just table all that and pretend like we're all past that now and think of tomorrow. What will we do tomorrow? What do you want to do
And
tomorrow?
that's why I'm asking. And this is particularly
But that's not a
until
helpful
the
question. That's undermining the whole dialogue by saying, do we want to just fuck about and fight an empty port, or do we want to have a fight? That's not a fair question. A fair question would be, how do we organize ourselves in such a way that we can both have good content and good fights? That should be the question you should have asked.
That should be the
No,
topic of the goddamn
that's
But he's
the
asking
question
if we-
we're asking you. How do you want to organize this?
Yeah, we don't have really
we are-
solution.
we are-
You are the
we are
key
not
of
the
the
one
of the
that's-
problem, because if we attack the US on our prime time, we know that there is so many people playing UE on the Euro server that it will not be a problem to find Dutch or British to defend them. But when you are attacking on your prime time, that I respect, it's really hard to find 10 to 15 people ready to wake up in the middle of the night in the entire alliance to defend. So it's
Except
not
that
like
the fact-
it's not
except that the
like it's
fact
fair
that,
play and that we can
it-
night flip you and you can night flip us. You are the one with the different time zone than all the other ones. So you are the
But this
key-
isn't true. This
you are
isn't
the
true,
key
Kira.
of the night flip US players, not
Right now, with
not
the
not
U.S.
the other
player
one.
base, the U.S. player base is primarily American. Okay, the Zer guys are primarily American. The 7-Up guys are primarily American.
No, we're
and
not.
these
But
No, we're not. But
are,
we're not.
Oh, what's
there's
your?
There's 4 Americans, about 9 Dutch, German, European time zone people.
Okay, then I'm mistaken. There are pilots, but even that
It's an
means that most
exaggeration
of
to
our.
say most of Zerg is American too. I am.
Okay, well then maybe I got it
But
wrong. Then.
Slot's British, for example, and most of us are probably British or European.
I know
Maybe
that.
a third
Well, let
are
me say this
Americans.
then about the Americans. We had to get up every time that there was a fight for our allies or on our coast back when we had all that stupid fine wood stuff, and we were fighting on the East Coast, and we were the center of the map at that point in time. Everybody wanted those 2 live oak ports. We were getting up 23 strong to reinforce everything that was going on every day. Surathani and Jags and these guys were doing the same thing. The guys here from Zerg were doing the same thing. I agree. I agree with you that being that we have a population base right now gives us an advantage in being able to find more people willing to wake up early, but it doesn't change the fact that we're still having to wake up early. And on top of that, for instance, the on the flip side, your guys' side, when we made that truce, and we said, okay, we'll back off of Savannah, and but you better show up because we may have pugs that just random people that go into the battle that we don't talk to and aren't in the loop. You guys showed up with 25 ships. 25 ships
Yeah,
you showed
it's
up to that
exactly
fight.
why we make
could
the
have had a
strike
good
now,
fight
Thomas.
that night.
Thomas,
We could have
it's
had a great fight.
exactly what we said for the French. The French said we have to defend the port because it's really important for the eco. And we told them, don't be stupid, because if we wake up as usual to defend the port, the US will say, oh, it's not a problem. See, there are 25 people. But these 25 fucking people put an alarm clock to wake up. It's a problem. It's not like you enjoyed the game. We are waking up for a port battle. It's a game. We are supposed to enjoy
I
it.
get
It's
that.
like
The
calling
point-
out
the point I'm
sick
saying-
from
25
port
to
battle.
defend the
It's like
port,
calling out
but we
sick
take
from work
not
for-
any
Let me-
pleasure
fucking
to wake
difference.
up for that.
Yeah, this
So
is
that's
the
why
point,
we
though.
don't
Let me
join
just
the
say
port
what the
battle
point is,
now.
and then I'll
We don't
stop.
want you to think it's a pleasure to play in the middle of the night.
Yeah, just
Well,
hold on a
no, no,
second.
the
Let's
point is
To
just
play
grab.
on
that we're
3
not
o'clock, it's not a
after.
pleasure.
I don't
It's
see
a
the
pain.
point.
The point is just simply that we aren't attacking ports at that time to not get fights. We're attacking it for content. There was with some little
Yeah,
examples.
Thomas,
where
just
we
a
were kind of
second,
little-
mate. Just a second.
Yeah,
Let's grab some. I think we've got a clear picture that a number of nations don't really like waking up at 3 a.m. But at the same, which is by the way the time it is here now. Whereas at the same time, the US want inclusion in the game, and that means that they want to be able to attack in their sort of 6 to 10 p.m. time slot, which is part of the problem. So let's get a bit of input from a couple of other folks. I know Mal, you were going to speak, and I think Slort. So let's start with Slort, because otherwise he'll beat me up tomorrow,
No.
and then we'll go to Mal.
all
It's
I
fine.
was going to say to Kirit was he was talking about, people being at stupid times and port battles being at stupid times, and I was just going to say that the French have to be very careful that living in a glass house, you can't be throwing stones, because Pedro K happened at 1:30 yesterday afternoon, and Tack, who is sat in this meeting himself, said during the port battle, "Don't you guys ever work?" So they were expecting a very small turnout. As it happens, a lot of us work for
Do
the
you
armed
see
forces,
as
but we
this
don't
is
work on
not
a Friday
a
afternoon.
pleasure, but like this you understand what we live in, and
I hope you
it's
do.
not very big
I don't
because
think you
it
do
were during the
understand how we
day.
live.
So,
This is unproductive.
my
Let's
point,
stop.
Yes,
my,
it's
my,
Hang
my
just
on.
Yeah,
point
because
there is just
focusing
that they have to
people
be
against.
careful when raising this point. That's all I'm saying. Just
I,
be very careful.
I would like to add something now, and I've said this also in our nation. I think I've also talked about it in global chat. We were a couple of guys, Christendom among others, talking about it a couple of days ago. It's very dangerous when we start seeing that, oh, the French did this, or oh, the Danish did this, or the Americans did this. We don't control other people's game. We don't control what other people do. We should be very mindful that we don't start hating on a nation and trolling on a nation because of what some of the nation has done. I think there's a difference between sitting here blaming each other and the conversation just deteriorating because we want to blame each other for the grievances that we may or may not have. But I think in the end, they're mainly not with each other. If we're all interested in making the game work, we should, like somebody said earlier, try to think forward and try to be productive because this is leading nowhere. We should try and see where we go from here instead, because no one can take responsibility for what an entire nation does, and like I think we should try to remember to think that anyone here has the best intentions. Who takes out 2 hours of their Saturday game time to sit here and talk about what we can do for the game? I think we should remember that we're all like trying to make the game better for everyone.
I have a little question. Would you like to win every battle against enemies or against nothing and win redeemable? What is the best way to
I
kill the
would like
game?
to play Naval Action in the evening.
Yeah,
To be
but
on,
against people.
It's
No,
not cheating to play Naval Action in the evening when I'm at
I
home.
don't.
okay,
I
stop.
I don't.
Let's go back on what said Miles. We are not there to complain about what did or what I've done. There is three solutions that no one wants to say because each of these solutions is imperfect and each of these solutions is bad. And maybe instead of speaking about how dirty are the US or how arrogant are the French with the glass of stone, I didn't understand anything about what it say. So the three solutions. The first one is putting back the Lord Governor on port. This solution has positive. It will make the defender able to have prime time port battle, and it has negative. We have seen how it has been used during the Panama battle. I mean that when an enemy take the port, he was able, as soon as he take the port, to change the timer really hard, and then the defender were unable to attack the port again. So, is the first solution. I'm not giving you my opinion at start. We will discuss about this three options. The second option is to merge PVP1 and PVP2 to improve the population base and think it may help the balance of the game with more people playing US. This solution may be good because more people will be in and probably more people playing in the US time, so it may decrease a bit
Can we all agree the merge needs to happen?
the
Yeah,
problem.
but a merge only needs to happen if the guys that are on the PvP2 server now, the dominating nations are Brit, US, and Dutch, which
I
are
give
the
you,
same
guy,
at
I give you the three
PvP1.
options, and we speak about after about how to improve or not them. And the last solution is to have two servers with 12 hours window on both servers. One is designed for the people, the two server at 12 hours server, and people is choosing on which server it join depending on what time is timed. Do you see other option that may solve the night sleep problem?
Well,
The
another
fourth
option may be.
option is to
Yeah,
split a
what
port
is?
battle into 5 or 6 separate battles that each run in different time zones. You could either weight them or have more in the higher player base time zones.
Or can I suggest even maybe stronger defenses for a port battle on a defender whose hours may seem, obtuse to the majority of the player
But
population?
how do you determine that? Are you going to
Well,
IP check everybody in the nation and determine what the average
No,
player time is?
No. It's done server side. The server knows exactly who's logged in and from what country, from what IP, from what district, from where. It knows exactly where you're logging in from. I guess what I'm saying is there are plenty of mechanics solutions that can be employed here. Fighting each other probably isn't one of them. What I think our question right now at hand is, do we beg of dev to come up with better mechanics, or possibly to look at options? But what do we do in the meantime to keep this player base coming back to the game? So what can we do? What can we arrange with each other in order to make sure that we have the best game possible?
Yeah, North from Denmark. I don't think merging the server is a good idea at all. It only will help the already numerous alliance, which is the Brit, US, and Dutch, and those are ruling already on the PvP2 server. I don't see how that would give more content to the US or the Brits players, as they probably would join the same nation on PvP1, making even more night flips against our alliance that doesn't do night fouls almost.
Yeah,
well, they could specifically incentivize those.
Let him speak, and you will speak after, because we'll not go forward if you just stop speaking.
Aforementioned mechanics change as a bonus, for example, to going to a different nation is exactly a mechanic that would help nominalize these populations in North Viking. You just can't be against one thing and not look for other solutions that can support it.
Yeah, I would like to address what Kirip said. Like, I'm not against the Lord Protector at all. I think if the US capture a Danish port in our prime time, we actually deserve to lose because they won the battle. If they then put the timer to their prime time and we have to wake up in the middle of the night to take back the port, I don't see the problem with that. That has to be our problem when we didn't defend it in the first place.
I see the problem, no.
Yeah, I know the French see the problem because they are fear that the Brits and the US and the Dutch are gonna put only night timers just so we can't attack them. But if this is done with a little bit of insight on actually wanting gameplay, as everyone here has agreed upon, they want gameplay, they want content. And if you want content and gameplay, you don't set the port timers, all your port timers, night valves, because then you really don't want the gameplay.
They're not all.
No. I'm not saying all are, but I don't see the problem with a Lord Protector. As I see, if we are losing a port, the enemy has a right to have it in their prime time, if that's the opinion of the enemy. And second of all, I think the two servers with 12-hour shifts are also a good idea. Yes, they will split the population, but as Jeheil has said, yes, it's a bad idea with the current server population. But if we look in the future when the game is launched, this could be something that is really good, because we don't have to have this discussion again then.
Well, Elite Dangerous has an offline mode and an online mode. If anyone's familiar with Elite Dangerous, offline mode is PvE with AI only, and online mode is full PvP. You can switch between them interactively. Now, I realize that, of course, would be a question when it comes to ports, but would you suggest maybe a mechanic where if you merge the servers, not all these players, of course, would want to play RVR. Many players don't like RVR. Frankly, there's some that don't play it at all. I mean, but would you support a server merge if there was a unique mechanic that would allow the possibility for the large player base to come together in one place?
I really think that merging the server, as said no, will just lead to less fair play. Not because the the PV2 server is less fair play than the one. It may be hard.
You're bringing the
because, as
American
said,
time zone more into the game, which would
it
exasperate the
will
problem
bring
if
more
you're
problems.
French.
It's not like you are making it even. You are just introducing more problem.
Would you prefer
and
that the
the
server
problem
be
is
shut
too
off when you're
for
asleep?
the English for the American. I mean that it's not fun for the American to not be able to fight people because no one is able to be present when they are there. I know for sure that many French have left the games due of the night flip. Sometimes you have to cut your hand to not lose your arm, and
Yeah.
the French position is clear about that. We want two server with 12 window clock in. And people will have to choose where to play, and the night flip will be over. We know that
But
it's
that's not the
hard.
server now, so how do we
It's
work with
not.
what we have
It's not
now?
easy. It's splitting the community in two groups. But at least the players that are now playing, they will be able to have fights with 25 to 25. The US that are playing there, if they choose to change server, they will find people that will be connected when they will flip the port.
Yeah.
And the enemy and the people on this server, they will not be forced to wake up in the middle of the night. So maybe at start
Or take a
it's
day
bit,
off work.
yeah, out work.
Yeah.
Maybe at start it's a bit hard, it's a bit painful, but finally it will lead people to not leave the game because they are bored, to feel useless and not able to defend their nation. It will improve the play game for the American that will be able to make more 25 and 25 battle. But I know it's a cost because people, as said Thomas, we form a small community and many people know each others, and splitting them on two servers, it's not an easy solution. But to be
Well,
honest,
there's
after
two
I've looked on the
other
different position, it seems the better one.
there's
Except
two
if Lord
other
Governor maybe really
options.
work.
There's two other options, Kurt,
Yeah,
that we
I'm
could look
listening.
at. So one could be that based on server demographics, so let's say it's 600 players during EU prime time and 200 players during US prime time, just for easy maths. Maybe nations can set 3/4 of their ports in one time zone and 1/4 of their port in the other. I mean, that would be a simple way of doing it, eh?
Yeah, but the problem is that as you don't have the same, is what I said before, the Americans, they are the key on the RVR because we are losing some port, you are losing some port, and finally it's almost balanced between the two blocks. If we put US away on that, it's pretty balanced.
Well,
As
it's
soon
only
as we
because,
could,
to some extent, it's very much because the Aussies stopped attacking ports. So the oceanic night shift no longer even tries to attack ports. If we did, you would have more than just the Americans to worry about if you're on a Euro
yeah,
timer.
maybe Jeheil, but we are not speaking one more time on what is happening. But it's pretty balanced. Maybe Oceanic are not attacking, but have you ever seen Danish attacking, for example, since months? So, whatever. So it's balanced, but the Americans are introducing an unbalanced thing because there is no one in front of them to defend. So if you split the pole battle in quarter or more, it will still be a free victory for this quarter because no one will be present to defend. I don't see another solution would be the Lord Governor. Maybe hard work on the Lord Governor, for example, a bigger window, and you are not able to switch it at start. For example, during 1 week, the window is the same, and then people have 1 week to take back the port, and after that you can switch the time. Maybe a work can be made on Lord Governor, but it's my personal thing.
Yeah, you could have a creeping timer that you could move a couple of hours every couple of weeks.
Is really that they want two servers with 12 hours window on both servers, and people is free to choose on which server play. It's what happened. We have had the same discussion and the same problem on Pirate of the Burning Sea, for those who remember. It was very awful. People were on robbers, the UE player, and then the night flip come with player joining from Antigua, the US server. And then it was during 2 months a really big problem. But it was just 2 months. Now it's more than 1 year. And the dev
All
said,
right,
okay,
please stop
we
for a
stop that.
second.
Antigua
Stop, please.
is US and it's 12 hours US. Roberts is Euro and it's 12 hours
Please
Euro.
stop or I'm
and
going
they
to mute
stop
you.
that.
You've occupied the floor here for, I think, double the conversation here of any nation. You need to please keep your comments more brief. We need to move this along. One, the dual service thing sounds fine, but this game has 600 people max. So you split the 2 servers up.
Yeah, it doesn't work
You
now.
got 200 on one, 400 on one. That's not a solution. It's not going to happen
In the
until
future,
the game
maybe.
launches. Yeah. So how do we fix this game now? Now you merge the servers. You get all the people, all 800 of us, if you will, on the same server. You test it out like this is a testing game. Figure out what works. Game launches. You split the servers up if necessary. Right?
Yeah, but merging the servers won't help the problem that we are
it will
facing
be a
now.
short-term solution.
How is this a solution for anyone else than the US and the Brits? Please
Because all
explain that to me.
nation-
Because
all
we're talking
nations
about
get-
the longevity of the game, not just the game.
Because you're not,
That-
North Viking, you're not including the addition of other mechanics to nominalize such an effect. You're having a one-channel, one-layer conversation when there could be other things that affect how that works. But for example, positives to the defender on the smaller faction, for example. I mean, there's so many things that we don't have the time to even address those.
I mean,
But
we can
No,
have
but then-
multi-stage
then-
battles,
out of hand.
Then I suggest the Lord Protector and you can merge how many servers you like, but merging the server and then try to look at the problem again when we already know what the problem is just not gonna work. It's just gonna magnify the problem, and then even more players will leave on the opposite faction because the problem isn't really solved. It's just escalated, and then you're trying to look for a solution because you have more players experience the same problem.
But at least all nations would have North American players.
How would the
Theoretically,
Lord
at least.
Protector? How will the
theoretically,
Lord Protector
yeah.
system help this system now? Or how will it split if you said 3/4 of the port timers
No.
to the prime time and 1/4 to the off time? It will
No,
be no different.
I
We will
think
just run out of content is all.
The 3/4 that Jeheil proposed, I think, is a bad idea because it doesn't help.
Let's hear some good ones.
Anyone. I think the Lord Protector with like Jeheil and maybe and Kirip suggested that you set your port timers and you have a wider window when the port can be attacked. Instead of 2 hours, you can have 4 or 6 hours. This can only be changed after a week, and you can only change it to a certain amount or to a certain time, and it will creep slowly how much you can change the port timers. This way, so if the Danish attack the US, take a port, we can't change the port timer right away from the US prime time to the Danish prime time just because we took it. We need to wait and keep it for like a week, and then we can change a little bit.
So
and
an
then another
ever-widening port battle window is what you're saying?
And it wouldn't, like, the port battle window would always, like, either stay 4 hours or 6 hours or anything like
creep.
that, but
It
would
So
creep.
the port's open for 2 weeks. Every week it expands an hour or something like that.
No, you could slide
No,
it.
no, no.
So as the
You can slide the
You
timer.
can make it
yeah.
later and later.
Slide the
and
time
later.
zone. Okay, I like
Yeah.
that.
So
And that way, if the US also attacked the Danish in our prime time and we lost the port, you are able. It doesn't have to be a week. It can be 2 or 3 days, and you can slide the timer a little bit towards your time zone, and slide it a little bit more if you keep it another 3 or 5 or 7 days. You can slide it even more. And the longer you keep the port, the longer you protect the port, you can slide the timer all the way to your prime time. This would make it more fair, and it would actually
It spoils the
encourage. It will encourage the defenders to actually defend the port. And
the
it
only
will,
problem, the big problem, sorry, North, the big problem that arises there is that we'll be going back to the days of 25 people, 50 people sat in a port for 2 to 3 hours waiting for the timer to go away because they want to defend it.
Yeah, but
And there
isn't
was
it
nothing. There was nothing more mind-numbingly boring than sat in Carlisle
okay? But
for
it's
3 hours a day, waiting for the port
yes,
battle timer to close.
but
But you could still
perhaps
use the same
you
hostility we have today.
yeah,
It's just that
yeah.
You can
when
combine
you
mechanics, yes.
when you
You
crack it on
still
a
get
Sunday, when you crack it on a
yeah,
Sunday, it's cracked
Well, that's
in the
cool. I
current
get
slot.
that. I get that. That's cool.
yeah.
But
You
I don't want to
don't
go
need to
back
sit
to
in
the
the
days
port.
of sitting in a port waiting for a
Yeah,
battle to
but
occur that may or
why?
may not happen.
Why
This is
would
Char
you
John.
sit in the port if it's not attacked? You're comparing this to the old flag mechanics.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I thought
Yeah,
you
but
were saying. That's what I
yeah,
thought you were saying.
no.
So
The flag mechanics are not in place. So
Right.
what would happen? You would get a notice if your port is attacked. Then you will be at the port bell. Other than that, the Lord Protector works fine because you will only be at the port if it gets attacked or a flag gets pulled, and you get a certain amount of notice. I think 46 hours is a little bit long. More like 24 hours or something like that would be decent.
No, that's cool. I'm feeling that.
It's a midway solution, but it
Yeah.
won't fix the problem. It
it
won't
will.
fix
There's
the
never
problem.
gonna be a
I mean
solution
that
to
in
the
the
peace
middle of the
problem.
night you will have to wake up to attack a port, and you will have the port with the same
No,
timer as the US.
no.
Why
Kirip,
no?
you misunderstand.
You
because
have to lose the port first.
Yes,
US
yes.
get a port, I want this port. I attack the US, I get the port. The day
Yes.
after, I have to wake up in the middle of the night to defend it because I don't have changed the flag. The day after, I still have to wake up in the middle of the night. The third day, I still have to wake up in the middle of the night.
Yeah,
People
but
do the same. It's
Kirip,
the
this-
night flip
this-
is
this-
making people leaving the game. You
Yes,
closing
but
your
Kirip,
eyes saying that we
no.
can't split the community, but there is not one community because the US, we are not playing with them because they're playing when we are asleep. So
Yes,
it won't
but
change
this will
anything for
also-
the EU
If you
player.
cannot admit
if,
this is a global
if
server,
100
we are
players
done
left
here.
that are not
Absolutely.
playing their time based.
No, but
And let me
but
speak, please. I have listened of you.
You've spoken
so
for
it
many
won't
minutes,
stop.
sir.
It won't.
When it comes
won't
to
change
your
anything,
nights,
but
it is
it will
our
make
days
people
too.
stop. It will make people stop to leave the game. People is leaving the
People
game.
have
because
already
of the
left
night
the
flip.
game.
The
The game is
proposal is
basically
just to
a shell
delay
of
it.
itself
So
from the
we
server.
can't
They've left the
agree on
game
that.
for many reasons. Maybe night flips is one of them, but there's
Oh,
many reasons
okay,
that we lost so many
let's
more
go back.
players.
Let's go back and talk about North Vikings' idea because it's the only idea here that is even a remote possibility of working.
No.
Because
I want to make sure that they know this is a global server.
Absolutely.
And until
No, Chris,
the US
don't-
is region locked,
Hey, Chris, no.
it's still a global
You're
server.
talking about one player saying that he don't want to have night flips. It's
Well,
the same
I mean,
thing
I don't
that
want
you're
some player
saying
that's
you
gonna
want.
fucking whine
night flip.
about,
No.
we don't want to stay up late.
No.
Well, everyone does
no,
that shit.
until you
Hey.
equate your night
Should
flip
we-
with our work flip, this is over. We're getting nowhere.
No whisper target
Should we
found.
maybe
So
take
you
a,
would
a
like
short
this
break?
amazing game, guys. You would like
No.
to kill it.
No,
Should
no.
we
Who
maybe
says
take a
that?
short break and let the tempers cool down just for 5 or 10 minutes? Let people go to the bathroom and then
Yeah,
take this up again because this is
I think that's a
deteriorating
good
now.
idea.
Yeah.
Who is this bloke? Who's found this bloke? Where's
No,
he come from?
this
He's
Jeheil will
amazing.
have to go to sleep. you know,
I'm
so-
I'm gonna bail in a minute, but I know Kirip is still twitching away, so he can carry on if you want to carry on. But I think for the time being, if you want to segue and come back, that's sweet. I'm gonna bail out now, and I'll nobble my stream shortly. But just to go over the points that we have touched on, and some of these have been touched on in the forums. So I'm just going to do a quick summary, and then you can all go and have a pee or whatever you need, a quick smoko. And if you want to come back and carry on, Kirip will be capturing it. So the ROE near port battles needs changing because it's too stupid for screening. We want some form of smarter screen tagging so you can't get dragged in by Muppets. We want, there's a sort of question about if we get more players, does it help smaller nations in general? We don't think it does unless we incentivize folks to join nations, even France. We probably need a position from the devs as to whether or not their goal is for regional servers or global. If it's global servers, at the moment we have a bit of an intractable position and a couple of ideas that we've thrown around. One is that the port battles are separated and fought over lots and lots of time, and then the other is a combination, which is what we've come up with most recently, a bit of a combination of the old Lord Protector with the existing sort of hostility thing, maybe you could then progressively move your slots, but I recognise the French still have a problem with that, because with a nation that predominantly plays between 6 and midnight, that's 16 hours of the day that they genuinely can't cover without allies with the right time slot. So I think that's pretty much what we discussed. Now, I don't know, John, do you want to say anything before I close off my part of the stream, or are we good with this, mate?
Well, I want to thank you for hosting this, Jeheil, and I want to thank all the participants who showed up. And if can we just get a quick consensus? Do we want to continue this? And if so, can Kirip post a link to his stream, or if we decide
we can
that
post it on YouTube after, it's not a problem.
Or perhaps we want to decide that this has been enough of a meeting for today, and perhaps decide to continue this on at another time.
Yeah, I second that. That's a good idea.
I agree.
I think we should take a break, but I think we should come back and hash it out just a little bit longer.
I would pick a different day, a different time. Let everybody reset. We'll get Jeheil back in here. We can go at this again. This is not a problem that's going to be solved in 1 hour or 1.5 hours, right?
And finally, we have reached the goal. We showed